Any of various kinds of FileMaker layout objects that contain text can be configured to show different formatting depending on the circumstances. This feature is called Conditional Formatting, and it's a really useful way to provide visual cues and prompts to the user about what's going on. It can be used for all sorts of things, such as providing the user with guidance about what they should do next. I could spend quite a long time listing the many different ways you might think to use conditional formatting on your layouts, but for now let's take a look at a very simple example. Still using the author's layout in the current work file, I'm going to apply conditional formatting to highlight data entry fields that haven't yet had any data entered into them. To do that, I'll first go into the layout mode and select the fields that the user would be expected to enter data into, just holding the Shift key down and clicking on each of the fields in turn. With this handful of data entry fields selected, I'm now going to choose the Conditional command from the Format menu. This brings up the Conditional Formatting dialog, where I can specify one or more conditions and then choose some formatting attributes that I want to associate with them. First, I'm going to click on the Add button at the right, and that creates the first condition. Then, in the section of the dialog immediately below, I'm going to choose a condition that specifies when the value is empty. So when the value of each of the selected fields is empty, the formatting that I specify in this next section will apply. In this case, I'll choose Fill Color and select a pale yellow fill. Now I'll click OK. You can see that having dismissed the dialog, each of the fields that was selected now has a little extra icon, a diamond shape with a couple of different colours, which indicates that conditional formatting has been applied to those objects on the layout. Now let's go back to Browse mode and take a look at the effect this setting has on the appearance of the fields. Okay, you can see that the fields that don't have any data in them on the current record, the title field and the middle name field, are now yellow, whereas the fields that do have data are white as they were originally. And that's the same on each record in the found set. If I enter Anton Chekhov's middle initial into the middle name field, you can see that when I press the Enter key to commit the record, the middle name field is now white, indicating that it has data in it. And if I delete the data from the field, again it turns yellow to show that it requires data and doesn't yet have any. So that's one example of a fairly simple but useful application of conditional formatting, providing a visual cue for users to draw their attention to the fields in the current record that have yet to have data entered into them. This would be especially useful in a situation where particular fields are required to be completed that the user must enter data in. The technique is pretty easy and allows you to set up your database to draw attention to the required fields that don't yet have data. Of course, there are many other possible uses for conditional formatting. Another fairly common example is dimming the text on a button in situations where the button isn't applicable or where the command attached to it is not active. In each case, the procedure is somewhat like what you've seen in this lesson. There are two parts to the process: setting the condition that will determine when the formatting should apply, and then choosing the formatting attributes that go with it. In this case, I chose formatting for the fill of field objects, but any mix of formats, including text color and text style, is also possible. And of course, the range of conditions you can choose is fairly open-ended, and you can even enter a calculation expression to determine when the formatting will be applied.